命ならば燃やし尽くす。
Agarest Generations of War 2 is the third game in its series despite the name. Originally released in 2012 to the West, it now makes its way onto Steam thanks to Ghostlight. They've based the port on the European version of the game, so know that a small number of images and minigames have been removed from the early parts of the game. As with most PC ports, we're first going to take a look at the options to see what is available. Feel free to click the annotation below or skip ahead manually in the video if you'd like to bypass the PC specifics. Our only real graphics options are resolution and full screen on or off. As Agarest 2 features a lot of 2D images and sprites, it's not a huge deal, though maybe being able to add some anti-aliasing to the 3D world and models would have been nice. Some of the UI has also been redone, which is a welcome touch. On the other pages, we have the option to select our input device. I found the default key bindings a bit awkward, though you have the option to remap all of them, with the added bonus of selecting a second keybind per action as well. Otherwise, if you have a controller, you can go that route. Taking place in a parallel world to the previous two Agarest games, you won't necessarily be required to play the others, though you do have the option of transferring a completed save file from zero. You begin the game as Weiss as he attempts to slay a god. Having succeeded, the world is enveloped in a mysterious light, causing destruction across the land. Contact was lost with the central continent, and demons spread throughout the world. Suffering from amnesia after these events, Weiss encounters Eva, an agent of the gods. He is told that he must atone for his sins and become a vessel for the power of the god that he killed, so that he may be resurrected. This requires you to go out and slay many of the demons that have appeared in the world, to regain the power that was lost. You'll quickly realize, however, that all of this cannot be done in one lifetime. As with the other Agarest titles, the game takes place across multiple generations. You'll need to find a mate and pass your burdens onto your child before your time runs out. When you start the game, you'll be asked to customize your character stats. This type of customization is a huge part of Agarest 2. Every character has multiple stats, abilities, and skills that need to be set. These choices will not only affect your current characters, but also your future generations to come. If you're a fan of building your characters, you'll enjoy this aspect of the game. If you're not, there is an easy difficulty setting to help ease these decisions. But what good are stats without a combat system to use them in? Combat takes place on two grids separated from each other. The enemy starts on one side, your party on the other. While you have limited movement, there are ways to modify your positions, mostly through the formation system. Each party member has a set formation that the group will use when you set them as the leader. This has a few different functions. Everyone in the proper formation receives a bonus that differs depending on who the leader is. They'll also be able to share EX skills, which are essentially buffs usable in combat. Otherwise, when you go on the offensive, anyone in formation will have the option of joining into the attack. Attacking an enemy, you have access to 4 types of attacks. Each has a specific use, and some enemies may be more susceptible to one over the other. Every action you do also requires AP, so some of the moves may use more or less than others. When being attacked, everyone guards, which requires breaking before you can launch, stun, or knock them down. As you'd expect, some of your attacks deal more break damage than others, something to keep in mind when you're forming your combos. You'll also want to be familiar with each character's attack range. If they're out of range, they'll break formation, possibly even crossing into the enemy's grid where they'll have their stats lowered. The general flow of battle revolves around breaking an enemy's guard, comboing them to build your ultimate gauge, and finishing them off with original skills, which are extremely powerful moves specific to each character. You do also have support magic, used to heal and buff your party. Combat has a surprising amount of depth to it. There are a lot of systems at play that can take a bit of time to get used to, but it's rather enjoyable. It can also be very hard if you're not prepared. Leveling up and putting your stat points in the right place is very important. Not just leveling your party though, you'll also want to upgrade your equipment as often as possible too. Early on, I found I was missing my targets a lot, leading to quick game overs. Improving my equipment and raising my melee character's hit chance went a long way. When you're done killing things, it's off to the next event marker. The story is mostly told as a visual novel, though you will sometimes have short CG videos and sprite-based interactions. You'll also be asked to answer questions from time to time, which will affect your companion's view of you. As with most Idea Factory games, there is plenty of fan service throughout, along with mini-games involving bathtubs and various massages, the main goal being to raise your relationship with one of the females to produce an adequate heir to become the new vessel. Your time in each generation is limited, and every event you do reduces that time further. A lot of this comes with the side quest from the Hunters Guild. You'll receive various tasks that you can complete to receive money, items, and stat points to improve your characters. As for getting from place to place, you have a very basic world map to roam around. There's nothing too special here, but the addition of a single button press to start a random battle is nice. You still have to deal with the normal random encounters, however. It can be a bit confusing on where you should be going next though. Your only real indication that you're headed the right way will be if an area says event over it or not. Even then, early on I found two ways I could go, with one way being way too difficult for my current level. A little more direction would be nice. Dungeons don't really exist in the traditional sense. You'll go to what are called symbol maps. You'll be presented with nodes that branch off in different paths. Each node typically contains a random battle, item, or story event. I'm mostly a fan of this approach. When you need to get through the area a second time, you can do so without having to fight anything, or you can choose to stop and grind a bit if you want. You won't be doing a lot of exploring, however, if that's your thing. It's clear that the focus is on the combat and improving your characters. The game comes with a ton of free DLC. The nice part is you can enable or disable the ones that you want. This means you can remove some of the items or other bonuses that would make you too powerful otherwise. Alternatively, you can use these to help you out in a tough spot if you feel that you need it. I appreciate this functionality, as I've played games before that have DLC that alters your characters that you can never remove. Another nice feature is the ability to skip battle animations. When you're forced to fight weaker enemies that you just want to get past, or you're tired of seeing a long animation, you can skip it. As someone who never made it very far into the first Agarest game, I can say I'm pleasantly surprised by this one. If you're okay with the little fan service and enjoy putting stats into characters, I think you'll have a decent time with Agarest Generations of War 2. Just be prepared to spend a lot of time with the game. It can be a long one.